Most cruise passengers think the big mistakes happen on board. They do not. They happen in the choices made before the ship ever sails. In this video, I'll walk you through 10 secrets that most passengers only learn after they've already paid for the mistake. Secret number 1. The cruise starts before embarkation day. There's a version of your cruise that begins the moment you book the cabin. Most passengers miss that version entirely. They plan the excursions, they pack the bags, and they show up at the terminal on the day wondering why things feel rushed. Online check-in is one of the most underused tools in cruising. Lines open it weeks before departure, and completing it takes about 10 minutes. When it is done, embarkation on the day is almost effortless. When it is not, it means standing in queues while people who checked in online walk straight through. Arrival timing is the second thing passengers get wrong. Showing up at noon is a very different experience from showing up at 2 in the afternoon. Earlier arrivals get a calmer process and board before crowds. The later you arrive, the more you share that experience with everyone else on the ship. Flying in on embarkation day is one of the riskier decisions a cruiser can make. A delayed flight, a weather system, a missed connection, and the ship sails without you. Flying in the night before adds a hotel cost, but it removes almost all the risk. On longer journeys, that is not an extravagance, it's insurance. The passengers who feel calm on embarkation day planned for that calm. They treated the whole day as part of the cruise, not as the logistical errand that gets them to the cruise. And that shift in thinking changes the experience before they ever step on board. Secret number 2. The cheapest cabin can become the most expensive mistake. The fare is the first number most people look at when booking. It should not be the only number. A low rate means very little if the cabin you chose costs you sleep. Location matters more than the nightly price, and that is something most passengers only fully understand after one bad cruise. Cabins directly below the pool deck come with noise the pricing page does not mention. Footsteps, furniture being dragged, music from the deck above. None of it stops at a reasonable hour. The passengers in those cabins are not getting what they paid for, no matter what the rate was. Cabins near elevator banks have a different problem. The mechanism, the door chime, the conversations happening at 2 in the morning. An elevator cluster looks neutral on a deck plan. It does not feel neutral at midnight on day 4. Cabins above late-night venues get sound coming up through the ship long after you want to be asleep. That is physics, not a flaw in the ship. Whatever is directly below you becomes part of your experience. Cabins at the very bow or stern can move differently from midship. Passengers who are sensitive to motion often find those positions amplify what they feel. Midship on a lower deck tends to be the most stable spot on any vessel. The real cost of a cabin is not just the deposit. It's what you lose in comfort and energy across an entire week. Booking for the deal is easy. Booking for the experience takes more thought, and it consistently pays off. And once you understand that position matters more than most passengers realize, one area of the ship stands out immediately. The balcony photos are the reason most people book it. The reality is more complicated. Secret number 3. Aft cabins are not for everyone. The back of the ship is one of those choices that looks beautiful in photographs and reveals its trade-offs over days, not hours. Aft balconies are popular for a reason. The wake view is genuinely impressive. Watching the ocean open up behind the ship, particularly on a sea day, is one of the better things you can do on a balcony. Now that part is real. What the photos do not show is the vibration. On many ships at cruising speed, the engines at the rear produce a low, constant hum that moves through the cabin. It's rarely loud in the way noise is loud. It's subtler than that. For light sleepers, after several nights, it can become a real problem. The distance from the aft to the main areas of the ship is more practical an issue than most passengers expect. On a large vessel, the back cabins can put you a very long walk from the dining room, the theater, and the pool. In the first day, that feels manageable. By day 5, those walks accumulate. The elevator banks serving the stern tend to be smaller and busier because a concentration of cabins feed into them. This is not an argument against booking the back of the ship. For passengers who want the view, spend a lot of time on the balcony, and are not bothered by vibration or motion, it can be a genuinely good choice. The point is simpler than that. Do not book those cabins because the photo looked good. Book them because you've worked out exactly what you're getting and you have decided the trade-off is worth it to you. Secret number 4. The buffet is not the smart first move. Almost every passenger who boards a cruise ship on embarkation day does the same thing. They find their way to the buffet because it's open, it's obvious, and after a day of travel, they're hungry. The problem is, they all do it at the same time. The Lido deck on embarkation day is one of the busier experiences the ship will offer all week. The food is fine, the room is loud, bags and trays compete for the same space, seating fills fast. The whole thing feels less like a relaxed beginning and more like a patience test. A lot of ships open their main dining room for lunch on embarkation day, and almost no one uses it. The room is quiet. There's proper table service. You sit without scanning for a gap, eat without managing luggage beside you, and spend the first hour aboard in a way that actually feels like a cruise. If the dining room is not available, waiting even 40 minutes changes the buffet experience significantly. The first wave of boarders clear, the lines drop, and the same food becomes a different situation. First impressions shape how passengers feel about a ship for days afterward. Starting embarkation with a crowded, chaotic buffet is not the worst thing in the world, but it is a poor start. The passengers who board and immediately slow down nearly always have a better first afternoon than the ones who rush. Secret number 5. Free onboard events are revenue channels. Walk through the daily schedule on any cruise ship and you find a roster of events that appear to be completely free. Art viewings, spa demonstrations, watch presentations, jewelry talks, raffle draws, champagne tastings, photo setups around every corridor. None of these things are free. They're designed entry points into spending. The art auction is the clearest example. Guests are invited to browse, given a drink, and guided through a presentation that frames buying art as casual and accessible. The atmosphere starts warm and low pressure. The structure of the event is built to move people from browsing to bidding. The spa raffle works a similar way. The prize is real, but the true purpose is getting you into the spa, into a robe, and into a conversation with a therapist trained to book treatments. Many passengers walk out with an appointment they had no intention of making when they walked in. The photo setups placed at embarkation, at dinner, at every port departure are not there for your memories. They are revenue operations. The images are often beautiful, and they're priced to be difficult to say no to once you see yourself in them. Now, none of this is a scam. Cruise lines are businesses, and these are legitimate strategies. But the passengers who sees the system clearly is in a different position from the passenger who walks through the ship believing they're just enjoying free activities. You're moving through a revenue map. Knowing that does not make the cruise less enjoyable, it makes you sharper inside it. Now that is where cruising gets expensive without looking expensive. The next 5 secrets are the ones that quietly drain the budget of passengers who have already survived embarkation day feeling perfectly in control. Secret number 6. Drink packages rarely work out financially. Cruise lines sell the beverage packages as freedom. Unlimited drinks, no receipts, no tallying, no decisions at the bar. For passengers who plan to drink throughout a full day aboard, multiple times a day, the numbers can genuinely work out. For most passengers, it is prepaid overspending. The calculation that makes the package look attractive is built on a full day aboard. If your itinerary has 3 or 4 port days, which most itineraries do, Those are days when many passengers leave the ship in the morning and return in the late afternoon. They are not using the package through the day. They're using it during evening hours only. Over a 7-night sailing with 4 port days, the math shifts considerably. The break-even point that looked reasonable becomes harder to reach. Passengers who bought the package because it seemed like good value can end up spending the week trying to justify the purchase rather than simply enjoying their trip. The pressure to extract value from the package changes behavior in ways that are not obvious at the time. It pushes you toward ordering when you might not have wanted to. It makes you feel wasteful if you order tea with dinner instead of a cocktail. That is not the freedom the package was sold as. For some passengers, a smaller package, or none at all, makes more financial sense. The right approach is running the numbers against your actual itinerary before you buy, not after the ship sails. The package is a good product for the right person. The problem is that it gets sold to everyone. Secret number 7. Shore excursions are about risk, not just price. Every cruiser has heard the simple version of the shore excursion argument. Book through the ship and you're covered. Book independently and you take the risk. The reality is more specific than that. Ship excursions offer one important guarantee. If the tour runs long, the ship waits. That guarantee matters more in certain ports than others. Complex ports with tender operations, long drives from the pier, or unpredictable traffic make it genuinely worth paying for. If something goes wrong with an independent operator in those conditions, getting back in time is your problem, and the ship will not hold. In other ports, the situation is different. A short walk or drive from the pier, a well-reviewed local operator, a standard tour of manageable length. In those conditions, an independent excursion can mean a smaller group, a better guide, a more personal experience, and a lower price. Some of the best Port Days experience cruisers describe involve no ship excursion at all. The decision should never be made with one rule applied to every port on the itinerary. It should be made port by port. How far is the pier from the site? Is it a tender port? How long is the tour? How much time is there if something runs late? A ship excursion is not automatically the safe choice, but it is the safe default. There's a difference, and understanding that difference improves every port day you have. By this point, a pattern is clear. The cruise line is not simply selling a holiday. It's shaping your decisions from the first morning to the last night. And that brings us to one of the most overlooked advantages on the ship. One that costs nothing and that most passengers barely use. Secret number 8. Your cabin steward can solve most problems. The cabin steward is one of the most capable people on the ship, and the majority of passengers interact with them once a day, say thank you, and ask for nothing. This is a missed opportunity. Stewards can arrange extra pillows or a different pillow type. They can bring robes, additional towels, extra hangers, ice kept through the day, and small comfort fixes that change the texture of the cabin entirely. For passengers with specific preferences around temperature, arrangement, or daily timing, the steward is the person to speak with. Timing is everything here. Passengers who communicate their preferences on the morning of day 1 get a cabin that works for them across the entire voyage. Passengers who wait until day 4 to mention something that's been bothering them spend 4 nights less comfortable than they needed to be. The steward's job is to make the cabin work for you. Most of them are very good at it, but they cannot read your mind, and they're managing a full corridor of cabins. The passenger who communicates clearly and early will always get more from the experience than the one who says nothing and hope things improve. A brief conversation on the first morning takes about 3 minutes. Names, preferences, any special requests. 3 minutes and the rest of the cruise runs differently. It's one of the simplest advantages available on any ship, and it's almost entirely unused. Secret number 9. Small charges build a larger bill. Most passengers do not have one dynamic overspending moment on a cruise. They have 30 small ones distributed across 7 days that they barely notice until the final morning. A specialty coffee here, a glass of wine not covered by any package, a shore excursion booked through the onboard desk, a formal dinner photo, a souvenir from the ship boutique, casino spending that felt casual at the time, gratuities added to specialty dining, Wi-Fi charges for a second device. None of these are expensive in isolation. Together, across a full voyage, they can double what a passenger thought the cruise was going to cost. Cruise lines add gratuities automatically to the account in most cases, and the per-day charge across 2 people adds up meaningfully across 7 nights. Specialty dining carries a cover charge on top of the all-inclusive fare. The ship's onboard currency makes everything feel less real because no one watches a balance drop in real time. The final night of any cruise is full and emotional. Passengers are packing, saying goodbyes, watching the last port disappear behind the ship. They are not reviewing spending reports. That timing is not accidental. The practical move is checking the onboard account regularly, once every 2 days through the app or in-room television. Errors happen. Charges appear that passengers do not recognize. Sorting them out before the final morning is straightforward. Trying to resolve a billing issue at the desk at 7 in the morning alongside 300 other passengers doing the same is not. Secret number 10. Ships are designed to guide where you go and what you spend. This is the one that connects everything else. A cruise ship is not a floating hotel. It is a revenue environment built by people who have spent decades studying how passengers move through a space, where they stop, and what makes them open their wallets. The photo stations are not placed at Embarkation and the dining room entrance by accident. Those are high traffic points where passengers are already in a good mood, already dressed well, already inclined to pause. The shops are positioned between the areas passengers move through most often. The casino on many ships sits where passengers naturally pass when traveling from one part of the vessel to another. The daily schedule is built around the ship's revenue calendar as much as passenger entertainment. The spa promotion runs on sea days when passengers have time and no plans. The specialty dining offer arrives on day 2, after passengers have spent one night in the main dining room and are open to something different. The art event and the jewelry presentation fall in the middle of the voyage, when guard is lower and the holiday feeling is at its height. The sense of just browsing is part of the design. You were supposed to be browsing. You were routed through that space for a reason. None of this makes a cruise a bad experience. It makes it a designed one. The passenger who enjoys these trips most are not the ones who refuse every spending opportunity. They're the ones who see the system clearly, decide what's worth it to them, and move through the ship on their own terms. That clarity is the real secret, and it's available to anyone who looks for it. The best cruises rarely happen by accident. They happen when you see the traps early and move through the ship with more control. Like, subscribe, and click the next video on screen. I'm sure you'll love it. Travel calm, spend smart, and remember, your voyage is just beginning.